Hello, good morning, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed how some people instantly attract positive energy without saying a word? They're not always the loudest, the most talented, or the best looking, but somehow people gravitate toward them. They make others feel seen, heard, and valued. That's not luck. That's not charm. That's a skill. Being likable isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's not about trying to please everyone or being fake. It's about becoming someone who makes others feel better about themselves when you're around. In a world where social media often defines who gets attention, and charisma is misunderstood as popularity, being truly likable has become a lost art. But the real secret is this. Likability isn't about being the loudest, funniest, or most confident person in the room. It's about how you make others feel when they're around you. People may admire success, but they connect with sincerity. If you want to be someone others naturally gravitate toward, it starts with shifting the focus from impressing to understanding, from performing to being present. One of the most powerful yet underrated habits you can build is learning to listen, truly listen. Not with the intention to interrupt or reply, but with the intention to understand. Most people go through life craving someone who will hear them, without judgment or distraction. If you can become that person, you instantly stand out. The ability to offer your full attention, to lean in, to nod, to stay engaged, makes someone feel important in a world that's constantly pulling their attention away. You don't need clever lines or stories to be memorable. Sometimes just being the one who listens is enough. Another subtle but incredibly effective habit is remembering and using people's names. Think about how you feel when someone unexpectedly calls you by your name. It catches your attention, doesn't it? That's because your name is tied to your identity. It's personal. It's powerful. When you use someone's name naturally in conversation, it signals that you notice them, that they matter. It may seem like a small gesture, but small things often have the biggest emotional impact. Likability is in the details, and this is one of the simplest ways to connect. If you want to be liked, talk less about yourself. Most people are walking through life with their own worries, their own dreams, their own stories, and they're just waiting for someone to care enough to ask about them. When you shift the spotlight away from yourself and instead ask thoughtful questions, questions that show you're genuinely interested, people feel seen, they feel heard, and they walk away thinking you were a great person to be around. Not because of what you said, but because you gave them the space to express themselves. That's the paradox. When you make others feel important, you become more likable. Words matter, but so does your body language. We communicate so much without ever speaking. The way you stand, the way you make eye contact, the way you smile, these cues shape how others perceive you. You could be saying all the right things, but if your arms are crossed, your eyes are wandering, or your expression is cold, your message gets lost. Likability isn't just heard, it's felt. Open posture, genuine facial expressions, and calm, confident energy show that you're approachable. And when people feel safe around you, they open up, and they remember you. Ironically, one of the fastest ways to become less likable is trying too hard to be liked. There's a difference between kindness and people-pleasing. Likable people don't morph into what others want. They stay grounded in who they are. They're kind, yes, but not at the expense of their own truth. They don't overextend themselves just to win approval. That kind of authenticity is refreshing in a world full of masks. People can sense when you're being real, and they trust you more for it. So stop chasing approval. Be comfortable in your skin, and those who truly matter will be drawn to you for exactly who you are. Another beautiful trait of likable people is that they aren't afraid to be human. When you can laugh at yourself, when you can admit you don't have all the answers, when you're open about your flaws without self-pity, you give others permission to be imperfect too. That's powerful. Vulnerability builds bridges. Nobody connects with someone who seems perfect. We connect with people who are honest, relatable, and a little messy like the rest of us. When you can own your awkward moments and still smile, it makes others feel more at ease. It creates space for authenticity. Kindness never goes out of style. In fact, It might be the most magnetic quality a person can have. Compliment someone when they least expect it. Say something uplifting. Speak well of people behind their backs. When you walk into a room, ask yourself, can I make someone feel better before I leave? That doesn't mean being fake or over the top. It just means choosing your words with care. Your voice has power, and when you use that power to uplift others instead of tearing them down, people will want to be around you more. You become someone who adds light to the room, and that light is unforgettable. Finally, what truly makes someone likable over time is consistency. People trust what's predictable. They appreciate knowing who you'll be, regardless of the setting. Whether it's at work, with friends, or in a tough moment, the most likable people are the ones who show up with the same respect, the same values, the same character. They're not hot and cold. They don't shift with the crowd. They're grounded, dependable, and steady. And in a world full of inconsistency, that kind of emotional stability is deeply comforting. So here's what you need to remember. You don't need to be the most interesting person in the room. You don't need to be the loudest, the funniest, or the most successful. You just need to be real, present, kind, curious. Focus less on impressing and more on connecting. People may forget your words, your jokes, even your face, but they will. Never forget how you made them feel. Being likable isn't a performance, it's a choice. One you make every time you meet someone new, every time you choose to listen, every time you show up as yourself. So show up, speak with kindness, lead with empathy, be genuinely interested, be consistently real, and watch how the world starts leaning closer to hear more. Not because you demand attention, but because you've earned respect. So what's the real secret to being likable? It's not about being loud. It's not about being popular. And it's definitely not about being perfect. It's about showing up as someone who makes others feel seen, heard, and valued, simply by being present, honest, kind, and human. Into a world chasing attention, choose connection. In a world chasing applause, choose authenticity. Because people may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Be the kind of person people want to be around. Not because you shine the brightest, but because you help them shine too.